Before I start, let me express that it's a bit of mystic connection that today Kamola gave the first lecture and I'm giving the second one. We, the mentor and disciple, are mystically connected. Not only that we have two consecutive speakers, but also the topic and subject that are also somehow unknowingly connected. So তোমার হলো শুরু আমার হলো সারাটি উল্টোটা মানে উনি যেখানে শেষ করলেন ঠিক সেখানে বলবো না কিন্তু কানেকশন একটা আপনারা নিজেদের খুঁজে পাবেন আমার টপিকটা আমি একটু উল্টো দিক থেকে শুরু করতে চাইছি সাধারণত রেফারেন্স পরে দেওয়া হয় আমি একটু আগে দিচ্ছি একটা উদ্দেশ্য আছে যেটা হচ্ছে যে রেফারেন্সগুলো পেলে একটা বোঝা যায় যে আমি কি বিষয়ে বলতে চাইছি আচ্ছা এখানে কেউ আছে যারা বাংলা একদম বোঝেন না Is there anyone who doesn't understand Bengali at all? You don't understand at all. Okay? So please come to the first bench. Anyway, you are comfortable here. No problem. Well, I'll try to then to be Benglish. Okay? English primarily, but I can't ignore Bengali. So the motivation is that you will have an idea that what I'm going to talk on. That helps, you know. Otherwise, I would be Nasiruddin Mullah. We used to say that, okay, you know what I am going to talk about. Yes, then you know. I'm going to talk about. You know, no. Even if you don't know, then what should I talk on? And then finally, 50% said yes, 50% said no. Then you please tell who no, who them, who that. So that is Mullah Nasiruddin, but he didn't want to say anything. But here I am to say something. Right. So I will not go in that way. That's why the references are there. So I am here to say something, right? And of course you are here probably to listen to something. এই বলার বোঝার ব্যাপারটা আমি একটা ছোট অ্যানেকডট বলি Einstein. My first reference is actually Einstein. Einstein and Charles Chaplin. Einstein often some remark Chaplin that okay. You say almost nothing, but people understand you and admire you. And Chaplin answered, you say a lot, and people don't understand you, but still they admire you. So I am quite confident that even if I don't say anything, or if I say a lot and you don't understand anything, you will like me. So that is my confidence from Chaplin and Einstein. So this is my first reference. The second one is this is another book, Neil's book. Can you see, I'm an obstacle, should I stand here? But it's okay. So, there's the second one. This is a very important book for, even I recommend for students also, quantum physics. And this is, okay, miraculous here, 5 papers are there. This is Great Ideas of Science by Atkins, our favorite writer, Peter Atkins, a physical chemistry book writer. And this is something different, the quantum and the lotus. It's a frontier where science and ism, some Western philosophy, they meet. And this is, I will use some quotes of Einstein, so this is the book. But, so Debasish didn't introduce formally. He believes that, he trusts me that I mean, so I will do my self-introduction. And I am an odd man out. Okay. So probably if you go through the list of speakers of this refresher course, you will see that probably I am the only person with a kind of ledge. Tell. Of course, college. I am from a college. And all other speakers are from either research institutes or universities. They are scientists and professors. So I am the only person, so I am clearly odd man out. But that would help you actually because you will feel more friendly, more interactive, and you can relate with me more easily as just teacher. Okay, so don't bother about the hi-fi research topics from my lecture. And actually, I believe that you will agree with me that this is no less struggle to be a good teacher than doing research. Right? So we all are supposing that you are good teachers, maybe some of you are good researchers also, but it is no less challenging. In fact, you too are doing research. How? being a teacher. Okay, this is from J.C. Bose. The true laboratory is the mind where behind illusions we uncover the laws of truth. And well, if you are a researcher, then your lab, you need a lab. Your classroom is your lab. I think you will agree with me, your classroom is your lab. And your material, unlike the non-living chemicals, your materials are living students. So you have chemicals. And your observation is the mind, the pulse, the spirit of students. And you need a funding. Not a UC or DST. Your funding is your self-inspiration, self-motivation. So of course we are doing research, all of the teachers. And exactly this is where it needs to be refreshed. This is a refresher course. Have you ever heard this kind of demand that where we need to be refreshed? You know, knowledge, even today, we can get it from nets. The so-called knowledge, we can collect so many from nets. But the wisdom, that can be possible only through interaction, heart-to-heart connection. So today here, I am not going to give you a lecture, rather it's a dialogue. Right? So why and why not? A refresher course lecture that I am giving now. Why not a lecture? The meaning changes when you put the comma here and there. Or why not a lecture? So you decide why you need a lecture or why you don't need a lecture actually. So what my topic is then? Why? So this is my topic. I will talk on why and why. It's not understandable, but you will gradually feel what I am saying by why and why not. Well, dialogue, question plus answer gives you a dialogue, you know. And it becomes funny, first of all, when the answer in response to a question becomes itself a question. So suppose you ask a student in your class, why this is so? And the student very confidently says, sir, why not? So it's a this kind of question and answer, you know, they happen sometimes. And the second one, when cycling, if I ask why you are here now, and if she answers me, sir, because I am nowhere else, so I am here. And then I will ask obviously, why you are not somewhere else? Then she will, I am here, sir. That's good. But finally I will see, okay, this is a cyclic argument. It is giving nothing new, right? So it's a cyclic argument. Sometimes we get this kind of answers. And when facing a smart student in your class, I have actually faced this kind of students, good students. After a deliberation, 15 minutes after I asked a question, the student asked a question, sir, why this is so? Then I thought that, okay, he is very carefully listening to me, very interesting student. Then I tried another 10 minutes to answer his question, and I stopped, and then he again said, but okay, that's fine, but why it's not so? And he goes on like that, just putting a why and why not. And gradually I felt, and I could understand that he actually is not listening to anything. He's just putting a why and why not. So that's dangerous, alarming. But a fundamental why and why not came from a mathematician, Leibniz. The question is, why there is something rather than nothing. So it's a bit philosophical, right? But it's really a question from mathematician Leibniz. So are we talking on science or philosophy of science or science of philosophy? So that's the question. And the answer is, I'd like to give you a funny puzzle. You will answer that puzzle, okay? It's a poem actually. How do they do it? The name of the kavita is this. You just carefully see. Astronomers do it in the dark. And you go on reading. I'm not pronouncing it. Mathematicians, biologists do it in the field. Chemists do it periodically on a table. The physicists do it by force. Geologists do it with animals. And when, do it earth shapes. The quantum chemists do it with bit of uncertainty. Cosmologists do it with a bang. The polymer chemists do it. Computer science also do it. Philosophers only think about it. They can't do it. So the question is, what is this it? I think you can guess in different dimensions, but some answer can be what it could be. It. Experiment. Mathematicians, they do not do any experiment. It's so usual experiment. Very close. You are very close actually. There could be other answers. Well, the answer is, of course, it is science. They are doing science. And if you have thought otherwise, same to you. Okay. So, we are doing actually science, and I will of course talk on science. Some flavor you will get non-science or nonsense, but believe me, it is non-science. Okay. From a class, why and why not? Just one example I will do common for any physical, organic, inorganic. How one can raise this why and why not, make it relevant in a class of students. Very simple example. Of course, I am taking example from physical chemistry part, but you can apply for any other example. So, chemical cell, you know that in a battery cell, it gives a conversion of energy from this to that, chemical to electrical energy. And this is the equation, even class 12 students they know, and they take it granted. Assume that this is the equation. We don't bother about how the equations come. And then you can put a bit 3, 1, 2, 3, why, and why not, of course. The first one is electrical. Is the right hand side is NFE. So why NFE is electrical? So you may ask the question. I am sure the students, even first year students, they don't know that they granted. Okay, it is granted that it's NFE. But simple that the voltage is there, what is the dimension, energy, etc. You know the answer, not explaining the answer. I'm just putting that how one can put the why. The second is why negative sign is there. Okay, that it is decreasing, so it should be negative. Well, after all, it's a trivial one, but why equal to sign is there? Why equal to sign is there? Very obvious. So this energy is equal to that. Now, why equal to? Why not less? Why not greater? Very trivial, but very philosophically deep rooted. Because some conservation principle is there. So no energy is lost, no energy is gained. So that's why they are equal. So any equation equal to sun is there, no? But that's not that trivial. And then why not? We are using delta. Then you ask that why not we are using D or del or omega delta? And why G? Why not U, H and A? You know, G is the gives to energy. But there are 3 other types of energy in thermodynamics. Free energy, enthalpy, Helmholtz energy, enthalpy and internal energy. So why the energy conversion is going through the other 3 energies? In fact, once upon a time, scientists believed that it is the heat of reaction that is being converted into electrical energy. That is enthalpy. So their equation was delta H is minus NFE. It is. So it is not that trivial that if you say why not this, why this. Okay. So this is a very quick example that how one can raise the questions to students to make them think that why and why not. Well, now I'd like to go beyond class, not in the class. In fact, usually what we do in a deliberation, we talk about science, as Pramod told a lot on quantum, the basics of quantum, particularly duality and its consequences. The whole lecture is on actually the consequences of duality. So the science, and he also discussed the people behind that those concepts, like Einstein, he referred to Pauli, Heisenberg, Bohr. So that's the second layer of discussion, science, fact, and then the people behind science. And I would like to go to the third layer, that what is the thought process behind those people, the science, people, and the thought process. Or you can say the world view of those scientists, how the ideas came into their mind. Okay, even they don't know, maybe, but now we have analyzed that probably this is the things, that why he thought in that way and why he didn't think in that way, right? So that is my point of catch, the third layer. So why? Because again from Einstein, the meaning of Einstein's Life magazine, the grand aim of all science is to cover the greatest number of empirical facts by logical reduction from the smallest number of hypotheses. So smallest number of hypotheses and the great grand science. That is the aim of science. Another one is, I want to know how God created this world. I am not interested in this or that. the spectrum of this or that element. I want to know his thoughts, the rest are details. So Einstein is saying that, okay, assuming that God has created the universe, then the technical details I am not interested in. I am interested how God thinks that he has to create a universe or something like that. So the basic thought process of God, that he is interested in. So that's my motivation that I should go for the background. So my facts, people behind the facts and the thought underlying in the process. So because we are talking about science, so let me very quickly go through the so-called the history of science. 5 paradigm shift, revolutionary changes in science, very quickly. The first one, of course, is Euclidean geometry, from rigid body to static configuration. So that is the first transition, and mathematical reasoning in our insight into nature. So first mathematical reasoning came into my discussion. And then 17th century Galileo and Newton, they are talking about rigid and static, and now they are talking about forces, acceleration, motion. So from static to dynamic motion, right? So we are evolving. And then 19th century Faraday and Maxwell, we got the concept of wave and oscillation. Electromagnetic theory, they are giving the theories of light. So we are getting continuous field, light concept, etc. So this is the first 3 paradigm shift in our science, the thought process, how it changes. And then, okay, this is the, তোমার হলো শুরু আমার হলো সারা আমি একটু আগে বলেছিলাম না, this is another classic example. I think you know this person, and we just follow. 1642 he died, and 1643 he, okay, Einstein, Newton, Galileo, ঠিক আছে? তো তোমার হলো শুরু Galileo, Newton. So that is interesting. Well, the 4th and 5th paradigm shift, and that is interestingly done by a single man. ভাবুন, ক্লাস ফিজিক্সের বা সায়েন্সের 5খানা প্যারাডাইমের মধ্যে 2খানা একটা লোক দিচ্ছে 1905 সালে, বেশি দিন না, 1905 বঙ্গভঙ্গের সময়। একদিকে ধ্বংস একদিকে ঘটছে। The 4th one, space and time, now and is erased, hyphen is there, space time, that is the concept, relativity. And the 5th revolution is matter and radiation quantum theory. So duality, probabilistic, the non-classical phenomena that Prof have talked about a lot. So that is the 5th paradigm shift in our science. So quantum is very much defying our common sense. It is the reality is asking basic questions of existence and reality. And interestingly, it goes against our classical science, against our common sense, against the so-called existing Western philosophy. In terms of observer, uncertainty, determinism, free will, etc. So quantum has given a lot, not only on science but also on our intellectual arena, right? The philosophical arena. And this is the person in 1905. Only he can do these 2 paradigms in the same year. He published all the 5 papers in 1905 in the same journal consecutively. And the 5 papers are, the first one is on molecular dimension, it's a page with dissertation actually, molecular dimension. And you see the variety, diversity, the Brownian motion. And Panditra বলেন যে Brownian motion এই পেপারটাই যথেষ্ট to give him a place in the history. And the 3rd and 4th one is for relativity, special relativity. One gives you the time, that absolute time is lost is notion. Also absolute space, and the very popular, even it's popular with the today's poets, they often use in their literary writings equivalent system. So they know. And the 5th one is the photoelectron effect, the photon light concept. And according to Einstein himself, the 5th paper is the most revolutionary. Right? Not relativity. You see that? Not relativity. In fact, he got his Nobel Prize out of this 5 for 1 paper. That is the 5th one, photoelectron. And of course, that's why he is one of the founding leader and pioneer. You see, Kaunda mentioned about the birth year of quantum mechanics. He told 14 December 1900. But he didn't mention who is the father of quantum mechanics. for a birth you need at least a mother and a father. And he didn't mention about the father. Because actually there is not a single father. Einstein is just one of the fathers. It's a very difficult biological process, if you think in terms of biology. But he is one of the fathers, not the sole father. So very quickly I would give a fairy tale kind of thing for covering the quantum. The one that already discussed 1.5 hours, I will tell you in 5 minutes to give the fairy tale on quantum. And the name of the story is, fairy tale, Thakumar Juli, Aladdin Ashcharya Pradip, Sadbhai Champa, Alice in Wonderland. These are the few famous storylines, So my storyline is a story of Aladdin's magic chair. Instead of chirag, it's my chair, a magic chair, and the Wonderland, the quantum land. And Sadbhai Champa is a quantum theory. Okay. So who are the 7 brothers? And what is that magic chair? The magic chair is this one. It looks like a chair. Yeah. So, upon the children and Susanta asked the question also, the Planck constant. That is the magic chair. Why I am calling it magic chair and connecting to 7 brothers for Champa bone quantum? Because the first brother is Max Planck. He has already explained the black body radiation. I call it the Krishna Koli. In fact, Suman Bodo eke dekhe likhechilo, ei Krishna Koli ke dekhe je তুই হেসে উঠলেই সূর্য লজ্জা পায় আলোর মুকুটখানা তোকেই পরাতে চায় সো ইটস অ্যাবাউট এ প্রিন্সেস রাজকন্যা যে হাসলে আলো ছড়াতে রাইট মুশকিলটা হচ্ছে যে যত বেশি হাসছে তত আলোর ফ্রিকোয়েন্সি তত বেশি বেশি হচ্ছে এবং ইন্টেন্সিটিও বাড়ছে এবার রাজা একটুখানি সায়েন্স জানতো সে ভাবলো তো মহা মুশকিল আমার মেয়ে যদি খিল করে হাসতে থাকে তাহলে হায়ার ফ্রিকোয়েন্সি আলোগুলো অনেক বেশি বেশি বেরোবে and that they are harmful x-ray gamma ray these are harmful so amar মেয়ে সোসাইটির কাছে একটা harmful মেয়ে বলে পরিগণিত right so that's a big problem and that Planck actually resolved the problem that he told no don't worry it initially goes up and up but now it goes down and finally saturation is 0 so the Planck distribution looked like this and so the princess was very happy the raja was very happy so that is the Krishna Koli Amidari Koli but the equation is E equal to h nu the simplest equation E equal to h nu and h is there so that's my magic chair okay the second one is okay of course Einstein 1905 photolytic effect and the same equation he used actually equal to h nu would you object that the h nu is the same equation from Einstein came in 1905 after 5 years first came from Planck E equal to h nu okay I'm coming to that one later on so again h is there and third is Niels Bohr again class 11 student knows that MDR angular momentum is quantized so nh by 2 pi and h is again is there a Planck constant and de Broglie is again p is h by lambda so somehow all are just begging for from the magic chair you give something to resolve my problem h and the fifth one is Schrödinger h side or d side okay in disguise h is there small h because in Hamiltonian it is the kinetic energy operator and that is minus h square by 8 pi square m so h is there okay and the sixth one is Heisenberg also h is there h by 4 pi so all 6 brothers and I couldn't find a 7th brother in my story and I thought that in any story there should be a tragic hero right unlike the other heroes so I chose the 7th brother to be S.N. Bose. He is tragic because all other 6 got Nobel Prizes and only Bose didn't get Nobel Prize, but he deserved. So that is my 7 brothers and Sadbhai Champa. Now I would like to place a googly, a question. Take it in a funny way, okay? I am giving a statement and you would answer that who can be or what can be that. Okay. The statement is that if I am not there, I told you 7 brothers, right? If I were not there, then quantum mechanics would have been impossible. तो वो कौन हो सकता है? जिसका इतना ऑडासिटी है, जो आमी ना होले quantum ही होता है. Who is that person? Planck. Okay, Planck. Any very quickly. Just take it a funny way. Heisenberg.
No, that's chair.
Huh?
That chair.
Chair, the magic chair. Okay, the chair. That's Planck. So the votes are going in favor of Planck. Only Planck. From this side, give something else. Exercise of Planck. Where yellow? अरे साफ है. कौन क्या तो गुर्दे लो हमें. कौन लोग क्या करते हैं?
Energy.
Planck. Okay, so Planck is getting majority. Majority.
Energy.
Okay?
Energy.
Energy. Energy is very known to classical science since long. So I expected that varieties of answers are, but Planck is not that important. It is Einstein, photoelectric, Einstein. So I am getting the second answer, Einstein. But other than Schrodinger, there would have been no Schrodinger equation. So why not Schrodinger? Right?
Why not de Broglie for that?
Why not de Broglie? Because the duality, that is the most interesting.
It's a googly.
It's a googly. So Kaushik, you please stand up and show your face to others.
I square is equal to -1. You need a complex number to analyze this whole thing. Otherwise, this thing just falls apart. So the answer is written there.
The answer I is the answer. Whatever -1. Otherwise, all 7 brothers are equal. Okay. So I can make partiality for judging them. Thank you very much. And he is not a physical chemist.
Well, proud to be an
He is
organic
organic.
chemist. Yeah.
Right? So I am proud to be with you and all of them. Now, it's a good, I told you, googly. I heard it from Saurabh Ganguly. Well, so after all these few minutes, I think you would say that how I want to drink alcoholic, of course, after the heavy lectures involving quantum mechanics. Would you say in that spirit that so far what I have told is very heavy and now I need a drink? Would you say? No. No. Thank you. But then why this slide is there? Actually, it's very interesting. If you count the number of letters in all the words, how? Tinte, I, acta. So if you go on counting the number of letters in each word, you will see a 14th place, up to 14th place, a number, irrational number. And Kaushik, can you guess what that number? Okay, the first one is 3,
3, 1,
then 1,
4, 1,
then
5,
4,
5.
4.
4.155.
Please raise it. 5. So this is actually pi. So quantum is not that boring, it's rather interesting. It gives you a pi, one of the most fundamental mathematical constants. Well, now I will tell something that Konda was telling about duality, and duality is so important in quantum mechanics. It gives a lot of things, all the consequences of coming from duality, and the men behind Einstein and then de Broglie, right? But he didn't want to mention actually, that where from this duality concept came. Is it out of blue? सपने में देखा हुआ कुछ ऐसे कुछ चीज होगा क्या? आइंस्टाइन की अगर स्वप्नवाद छिलेन, स्वप्न देखे बोले चल no. So if you go behind, then you will see that it is not out of blue, right? So at that time, the prevailing dualities were there in science, in nature. What kind of thing? Einstein actually a dogmatic believer in mechanics, right? Dogmatic believer, faith, blind faith in mechanics. That mechanics is the last one. Until he got the 1886 around that time, Maxwell gave the field concept, electromagnetic field, to explain what light is. So first time he saw that something extra, something new is needed for explaining nature, right? So it's a shift, and it's a duality, that it is something mechanics and something non-mechanical. And then why so? Because mechanics is connected to force, and this EM theory is connected to field. Force and field are not the same thing. They are connected, of course. Force is localized, but field is distributed. And mechanics is connected to particle, and field is connected to something non-particle, field. And somehow it is discrete, and field is continuous. Continuous. So all these 5 features tell Einstein that, okay, you rethink about your dogmatic faith. Only mechanics is not enough. So you have to think this and that, this and that, this and that. So that kind of dualities are already there. But people didn't try to bridge the dualities. Okay, they are mutually exclusive, you know. There's something localized, something distributed, something force, something field, continuous, discontinuous. So they are not compatible with each other. They are mutually exclusive, right? Opponent. But no one tried to bridge the two opposing things, right? Einstein did. So the beauty of Einstein is there only. Okay, and that is the thing that is the gap, the bridge, and not by Maxwell but by Einstein. Now what he thought, okay, light is explained by field, and I can't apply the mechanics on field because particle is not there. So what if I think that light is also some particle kind of thing, and then I can apply mechanics on it. So it's not that simple, but I think in that way that's easy for me to understand. That's the spirit, motivation, that he thought of light as particles. What kind of particles? Massless particles. Very interesting. Mass नहीं तो वो particle कैसे हो सकते हैं? Einstein बोला ऐसा होना चाहिए. अब तुझे रास्ता नहीं है, क्या होता होगा? So massless particle, light, and then applied mechanics, and the bridging is done. And that means he is घाड़े धोरे दुटो opponent के बोला तोरा एक संगे एक टेबले खा wave and particle. So that is the duality. So that is the philosophical spirit behind this duality. That your two opponents are there, and you have to be together. Forget your enemy, your rivalry. Right? You have to be together. So fundamental why and why not. Look at the picture. Now, a few minutes back, we were criticizing WhatsApp and the message, grammar, etc. That's okay, agreeable. But also sometimes we get good things from WhatsApp. Again, there are two sides, of the same coin. You have to be very flexible that you have to choose which one I'm going to use and which I'm not. So you can't reject anything directly. Point blank. So that I have got the message from WhatsApp, so the beautiful figure. Two faces, combined together. Now, paper 3. Out of 5 paper, Einstein, 1905, the third paper, relativity, and the fourth paper, relativity, the starting point is Maxwell's electromagnetic theory. So that means he is accepting the wave character of light. Fine? And find the whole analogy and logic based on that. Fine? Third and fourth paper. In fifth paper, he is contradicting that light is not wave, it's particle. So if any one of us write this kind of 2 or 3 papers in the same year, in the same journal, probably you will lose your job. That you are just contradicting yourself, sir. And Einstein actually contradicted himself, isn't it? Common sense of Taiwan, he contradicted. And then Rosa Penrose explaining that why this kind of contradiction. He is telling that, okay, actually Einstein could understand from his deeper insight, which the other physicists didn't have, that actually they are same. So at some point from perspective I am looking at, I am accepting that this is wave, and some other point I am taking the perspective of particle. So what's wrong if I take both and then we merge them into one? So the oneness of wave and particle, that he is talking about, and that he knew, only he knew at that time. No one could understand. So I'd like to relate with some philosophy actually. I am not quite sure that whether Einstein has gone through that kind of philosophical writings or not, but it is the Eastern philosophy, particularly Buddhist philosophy, that they have a great middle way. They're exactly talking about this, great middle way. What kind of thing is this? Not either or. You are facing two opposing views, fine? Then the first option is either this or that. But this great middle way says no, it is not either. Then some people will come, they will just escape and ignore. Okay, it is neither nor. SMS is neither nor. And that middle way saying no, it is neither nor. So it is neither either or, neither nor. Then what it is? And it transcends taking both, taking attribution of each other. So it goes probably to give a third solution. It transcends embracing both, not neglecting both, embracing both, but going to a third solution. I believe personally that 99% of our today's problem, starting from your daily life, a problem with the rickshawala, and in the night with your wife or husband, all kind of problems are because of they don't understand this material. Most of the time we are talking the same thing maybe, just we don't go for the third option. Why not accepting that, okay, you are right, I am also right, let us choose the third option. That is important. So, Duality. Now I'll ask a few points. Just it may be helpful for you for in a class for students. Planck and Einstein. I told that E equal to NH nu are the same formula. So 5 years back, Planck gave the E equal to NH nu, and 5 years later, NH nu. And both of them got Nobel Prizes for that. So I often ask my students that is it not ridiculous that the same equation giving 2 Nobel Awards? And then say they fumble, yes sir, I think so. I don't know. The answer is that 5 years in between. So 5 বছরে তো অনেক পরিবর্তন হয়ে যায় না। So পরিবর্তনে হাওয়া আছে, সব কিছু উল্টে দিয়েছে, ফলে এই ইকুয়েশন গুলোকে ভুলে গেছে, আবার নতুন করে লিখে দিচ্ছে। So but it's not like that. Then I answer the question that when Planck is telling about quantization that Kamala was elaborating, it is the quantization of the energy emitted. That how much energy, in what fashion the black Krishna Boli radiates, and that is in a quantized fashion, not a continuous. So that much he could tell. He didn't bother and didn't dare to tell about that light itself is quantized. The energy of light itself is quantized. He didn't bother because he didn't like the concept. That Kamala also mentioned. Fine. So this is the Planck formula. And when Einstein is talking on the same formula, E equal to NH, he is telling that light energy itself is quantized. The formula is the same, E equal to NH. So the conceptually, the students have to be very clear that what is what, right? Newton and Einstein, you know Newton's corpuscular theory. Newton 300 years back told about the particle concept of light. Then what is the new from Einstein? Right? That is another question. The answer is very simple. That Newton was belonging to either or. He thought that light is particle. But Einstein is talking about taking both in mind. So they are not the same. And the third one is very, actually the slide was also in Kamunda's lecture, that PC, momentum into light velocity, right? Equal to E, and that is equal to h nu. Both the equation came in 1905 from Einstein. E equal to h nu, photoelectric effect, E equal to PC from relativity. So, and nu is c by lambda, light velocity by wavelength. So, PC is hc by lambda, it cancels c from both sides. So, P is h by lambda, right? So, this is the famous equation. If you just ask your student, everyone will say, no sir, this is de Broglie equation. We know as de Broglie equation. Small electronic equation, P equal to h by lambda. But I am demanding that this is not. This is from Einstein, 1904. But nowhere Einstein deduced it explicitly. But it is just a matter of one line calculation that Einstein could have shown. And definitely I am not more intelligent than Einstein. That I am showing it and Einstein could not show it. Not really like that. The thing is that, then can I call it that this is Einstein equation? Then better on de Broglie ki hobe? To Nobel Prize এর জন্য পেয়েছে after 18 years, right? After 18 years, 1905, 1923, ঠিক। So we had to wait for 18 years for the same equation, but of course for a very revolutionary concept. So your students have to be very clear that what that concept is, not the equation. What you usually do, a simple equation, do a few numericals, what was your question test, do the something test. So that is the thing we do. But they can follow that much of mathematics for any textbook. You don't bother, you don't need to explain all these numerical problems. Rather, you just spend a few minutes on what the concept is, right? So don't take it an audacity from my side. I'm just sharing my experience, okay? So the thing is that, what is the problem then? Why not they are same? So my topic is why not? So the question why they are same, now why not actually they are same? Because when Einstein is talking about duality, he is talking about light and light only. That light is wave, but it is behaving as particle. But what about the other way? The Profic is one side Profic. What when something is basically particle, but it behaves like wave? Einstein didn't tell that. Why I am coming to the later, and that is my point actually. So the Profic was completed, the cycle was completed by de Broglie. So that means he generalized the vision of duality. Einstein is so limited, so specific, narrow, only for light, and de Broglie said, damn it, it is for everyone, everything. So that is de Broglie. And then finally, one more, why and why not? This is a very important question. some of my friends are here from physical chemistry. They probably know that I raise this question. I often raise this question more than one times. That Einstein is one of the pioneer, founding member. He was the leader of quantum theory. But later on, after 1905 probably, he was left behind by his contemporary physicists like Bohr, de Broglie, and many others. So Einstein ki ei 5 বছরের পরিবর্তনে কি বুদ্ধ হয়ে গেল, মানে বুদ্ধ থেকে বুদ্ধ হয়ে গেল? Is it that? But if it's not, then what? কি এমন হলো যে আইনস্টাইন আর কোয়ান্টাম থিওরি লিডিং এ থাকলেন না? Okay, it may be a redundant question for you in a class, but for your analytic, intellectual curiosity, it's a very important question, right? So what happened to Einstein? Now Rosa Penrose, after so many years, I didn't get support. I had a theory that why it happened, and I shared in some forum, along with my physical chemistry teachers, but they didn't accept either. That okay, we're talking philosophy, and it's not the reason. And I am very excited to share with that Rosa Penrose, writing a foreword of one of the reference book that I miraculous here, the 5 pages foreword, and then he is explaining exactly the same point, that why Einstein was left behind, and the reasons he is giving are exactly the same what I used to tell. And that is nothing but an outdated philosophy. Einstein was a realist believer. He used to believe on a solid existence. Something exists. Because God created, so must be there. Solid existence. We call it realist viewpoint, right? Philosophical school or a realist viewpoint. So actual and solid physical reality. Now, electron has a solid reality. So how he thinks that electron behaves like wave? Because God gifted solid, so let it be solid. But wave, light, ये तो हो सकता है wave तो इसको particle की तरफ जाना चाहिए. So it has to be solid because that is the dictum of God. So it has to be solid. So Einstein was partially correct, just giving the one way of the traffic. Because of his philosophy, he couldn't accept the other way, that electron as well can behave like a wave. And it needs the youth, young energy. De Broglie was a PhD student at that time when he was giving his dissertation. And he declared in his thesis that sir, electron can behave as a wave. Right? So that sometimes we need youth. Youth is always important. Today's India 65% are young, so we are very happy to have that to 65% youth. Probably in coming days will be দেশের মানে অন্যতম দেশ হবো এখনো নই. So I call that Einstein was not in Buddha's realm. In Buddha's realm rejects the great middle way. এইখানটাতে প্রবলেম হলো যেটা বলছিলাম যে ফিলোসফিক্যাল ডক্ট্রিনটা কিরকম পরে আসছে সেখানে, যেখানে দেখা যাচ্ছে I analyzed in that way যে when Einstein was a success, then actually he is at par with that philosophical doctrine that nothing solid exists. So he is success. But Einstein was a failure when he is not believing that doctrine, that the other, right? De Broglie and Bohr and Schrödinger and Heisenberg, they believe that. So clearly it's a philosophical fight, not a science fight. And that's why Einstein was elected. Very simple. Well, a few more why and why not. So are you interested to get a few more why and why not? Yes. Okay. This is very much our ghar ka aadmi, Rabindranath and Einstein. Einstein and Rabindranath, you know that debate 2 times that I interacted with each other. And I am just quoting, there are 2 different concepts about the nature of the universe. The world as a unity dependent on humanity, and the world as a reality independent of the human fact. This is first quotation. The second, I cannot prove scientifically that truth must be conceived as a truth that is valid independent of humanity. But I firmly believe it. If there is a reality independent of man, there is also a truth related to this reality. The problem begins with whether truth is independent of our consciousness. For instance, এই জায়গাটা সবাই আমরা জানি, খুব পরিচিত, if nobody is in this house, the table remains where it is. আমি ঘরের মধ্যে যাই বা না যাই, দেখি বা না দেখি, চেয়ার যদি একটা থাকে তা আছে. That is simple logic of Einstein, right? So Einstein is in favor of that irrespective of human consciousness, human presence, the reality exists. That is the Western phenomenon, right? Einstein is aware of that. Now you see, Rabindranath is talking in terms of quantum theory. Einstein, being the pioneer of quantum theory, he is going against the quantum theory. How beautiful! আমারই চেতনা রঙে পান্না হলো সবুজ শুনি উঠলো রাঙা হয়ে আমি চোখ মেললাম আকাশে জ্বলে উঠলো আলো পূবে পশ্চিমে গোলাপের দিকে চেয়ে বললুম সুন্দর সুন্দর হলো সে এ আমার অহংকার অহংকার সমস্ত মানুষের হয়ে the human being is at the center মানুষের অহংকারের পটেই বিশ্বকর্মার বিশ্বশিল্পী so the whole universe exists on my consciousness. That is Upanishadic thought, and Einstein couldn't understand that actually. So Einstein is talking non-quantum, Rabindranath is talking quantum. Very much. Quantum, of course, Bohr quantum, Heisenberg quantum, not of Einstein's quantum. The second one, why? This is a very famous figure. Einstein is saying that God doesn't play dice with the universe. ওহে Bohr, ঈশ্বর পাশা খেলেন না। ঠিক আছে, ঈশ্বর শকুনি নয়। And Bohr is answering, stop telling God what to do. Who are you to say God what to do and not to do? Stop telling, say what to do. So Einstein and Bohr, and the new quantum theory gives the abolishing determinism. The thing becomes probabilistic. That I am coming later on. And again Einstein and Heisenberg. So Heisenberg, Bohr, they are in the same group. Okay. Einstein didn't believe in the uncertainty principle either. So actually he is not believing anything other than photoelectric effects. So he didn't believe. And I am connecting it to another very important and complicated doctrine of Buddhism, nothingness. You have heard of some of it. What emptiness. Sometimes people criticize this theory, not understanding properly, that they are talking about some nihilism, Mayabad. It's not really like that. Because of their ignorance. But let me explain. Nothingness, very simple. It is not nothing, but no thing. So if we just split the word, nothing, no hyphen thing. Thing means some solid object. So emptiness is talking about that no thing is fine. কোনো বস্তু না থাকতেই পারে, but it's not nothing. So something was there which is not a thing, solid. So they are talking about some emptiness, in so-called emptiness, because we call it something empty, something is not there. Thing, solid, something is not there. Even gas is something. But Buddhism is telling that, okay, I may not be the object, maybe some electron proton neutron is not there, but some field is there. Now science accepts that. The field is there, the potential is there. So the whole thing was about potential, Shambhavana. Quantum is at par with that concept, Shambhavana, potential, right? So that is the concept of nothingness. And uncertainty connected to this nothingness. So Einstein couldn't believe uncertainty because again it's his philosophy. Well, and Einstein, let me review now that why Einstein is so dogmatic about and against all those theories. It will be very vividly clear from his concept on quantum, though he was the pioneer figure. The first quote, he doesn't play dice. Actually, that is the actual quotation, but now we have reformed, God doesn't play with dice. Right, this is the actual quotation. And the second one is, it is only in quantum theory that Newton's differential method becomes inadequate, and indeed strict causality fails us. But the last word has not yet been said. So that is Einstein's belief. Till the last breath of his life, he believed that okay, quantum is good. What regarding it is giving so much of applications, fine. But it is not the last word. और भी कुछ है. So you have to wait for that, और भी कुछ है. তোমরা যা বলছো, Bohr and company, Schrödinger, probabilistic feature, duality, uncertainty. Okay, কাজ চলছে, কিন্তু it's not the last word. So Einstein's belief was that. And till today, he's wrong. Nothing new has come up. And hence, lecturing on quantum theory is not for me. Einstein is confessing that though I have labored much with it, I have gained little insight. So that is goodness of Einstein. At least he is confessing that's not my cup of tea. Okay. Newton, Bohr, and Einstein. So now I'm talking about a new something, new principle of Bohr, which are not listed in textbooks, quantum textbooks, but it is very much there from Bohr. That you just please go through the words. Although wave and particle behavior of an object mutually exclude each other, both are necessary for the full understanding of the object's properties. I call this new situation complementarity. So please mention the word complementarity. Okay. Now this is Newton. He is saying, a classical physicist, if two descriptions are mutually exclusive, then at least one of them must be wrong. Very simple logic. দুজন অপোনেন্ট স্বামী স্ত্রী ঝগড়া হচ্ছে, তো ছেলে এসে বললো শোনো তোমার মধ্যে একদম ঠিক, আমি কার দল হবো আমি ঠিক করছি, বাবার দলে চলে গেল, আর ওই মায়ের দলে চলে গেল, থার্ড মেয়ে এসে বললো যে না 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 আমি তোমার দুজনের দলে আছি। So that is the complementarity, right? I'm coming to that point, but as a quantum physicist I would say this is both, that whether an object behaves as a particle or as a wave depends on your choice of apparatus looking at it. So what nature is fundamentally, at fundamental level, that depends on how you want to look at it. That is your apparatus. Because the measurement procedure itself is very important at the micro level. If you want to see a biological cell and you say the cell is cell without irrespective of my observation. No, you can't be. Because if you want to measure the cell, that process of measuring itself will kill the cell. It's so tiny, right? So now the observer and the observed, they are getting blurred. They are not separated anymore, right? So they are dependent, and that's Einstein, Rabindranath is talking about. Amar Chetana and Amar Prithivi, they are not they are separated. It's not classical, it's quantum. So at fundamental level, my consciousness, how I want to see, গোলাপের দিকে তাকিয়ে বললাম তুমি সুন্দর সুন্দর হয়ে উঠলো সে, you just practice it. Any boy and any girl will be beautiful next day on. But you don't practice, please. Well, now Newton, Bohr, I'm just trying to place these three great people on a canvas in this way. When Einstein was asked about God, that whether you believe God or not. Okay? The answer, I am not an atheist. That is not Nastik, right? Nastik. So I mean Nastik নই। তাহলে কি আমি আস্তিক? উনি বলছেন, I do not know if I can define myself as a pantheist. Pantheist মানে হচ্ছে সর্বস্বরবাদী, মানে divinity and reality are identical. মানে সব কিছু ঈশ্বরের জন্য আমরা কেউ নই। So that is the opposite, pantheist, atheist. Einstein বলছেন, I am not an atheist, but I cannot define myself as a pantheist either. তাহলে এটাও নই, ওটাও নই। তাহলে আমি কি? উত্তর দিচ্ছেন, the problem involved is too vast for a limited mind. Actually, Einstein is escaping this problem, this question. উনি বলছেন, আমি neither nor, but he is not telling them what you are. উনি বলছেন, is very complicated for a human mind. So my point is, Newton, he was a religious person. Very clearly, he is either of group. He was a firm believer in God, Christian God. So he is belonging to the either or group. Clear? উনি আস্তিক বলে দিচ্ছেন। আইনস্টাইন বলছেন, আমি neither nor, right? আমি এটা নয় ওটা নয়, কিন্তু কি বলছেন? And now comes, it is neither either or, nor neither nor, but embracing, transcending both. That is his complementary principle. So আমার এটা বলতে গিয়ে গায়ে কাঁপা দেবে, believe me. And so related to my life, everyone's life. So I'm just a few minutes on Bohr's complementarity principle. But unfortunately, he didn't write explicitly this thing as a paper. Unfortunately. He wanted to write a book on that, and he never completed that. That is not goodness of Bohr. But I collected a few articles and gone through this, that complementary idea. It's not available in any textbook actually. So now I'm trying to define what complementarity is categorically in scientific terms. That it is possible to grasp one and the same event by two distinct modes of interpretation. These modes are mutually exclusive, but they are also complement each other. So they are not contradictory, they are complementing each other. Only their juxtaposition will bring out the perceptual content fully. So one event, same event, it may have two different perspectives, two different views, and which may be contradictory. Apparently, actually they are complementary. And you need both of them to get a fuller explanation or description of the system. That is his complementary principle. So seemingly concept not be contradictory, etc. And in Chinese, actually, this is Honma Kukyo To. It is very simple. They are talking about 10 factors. Appearance, you appear like this, your nature, you have entity, and then your power, the influence, and then internal cause, manifest cause, internal effect, manifest effect. These are the 9 factors. They are probably 9 factors. All are independently true. But the most important factor is the 10th factor, Honma Kukyo To. They are saying that the consistency from beginning to end. All the 9 factors are open to each other. Your nature is depending on your appearance depends on your nature. You are looking beautiful because of beautiful from inside. It's your nature. So they are all connected to each other, and all this consistency from, they are all open to each other. This principle, the 10th factor is Honma Kukyo To, and to me this is actually the complementary principle. So and now both complementarity, a way of life. This is a heading, this is the title of an article taken from that I shown in the reference, Bohr Centenary Volume. A scientist, physicist, is writing an article with this heading. The Bohr's complementary principle, a way of life. That means he is extending the physics beyond physics. He is bringing it into your life, your daily life, your thought, your activity, your philosophy, your attitude, approach towards life. So how? So contradictory, opposing views, it goes to complementary, eliminating. So what we start with opposing, it may be complementary not only but eliminating. It eliminates each other, right? Opposing aspects gives you parts of a totality. So they are different parts of the same, the whole. So we all are parts of the same whole. There is no fight among us. If you must be harmonious among ourselves, you can really then only grasp what the totality is, right? And divergent human experiences underlying harmony. Divergent, if you accept the divergence, বৈচিত্র্যের মধ্যে একতা বলে না। So আমরা একতায় যোগ দিই, which is a bit wrong. রবীন্দ্রনাথের জন্য লেখেননি, এটা কি রবীন্দ্রনাথের কথা? বৈচিত্র্যের মধ্যে একতা। Anyway, যাই হোক, রবীন্দ্রনাথের নয় না। But বৈচিত্র্য, that is important. That you have to accept the versatility, varieties. Then only the একতা is meaningful. Otherwise, if there is no variety, then একতার কি মানে? সবাই আমার কথায় হাত তুলে দিল, তাহলে আর কি হলো? কথাটাই কোনো মনে থাকে না। Anyway, so I am just giving you a few from our lives, a few apparently contradictory views which need to be resolved, and that can be resolved by using this kind of spirited principles. You call it philosophy, you call it physics, whatever it is. Nature versus nurture. We focus on genetic quality, but Bohr is telling that nurturing is one, right? So both the views are there. I am not contradicting either of them, right? I am talking about the in between, right? So don't take it otherwise that I am advocating for some principles. Not, it's not like that. Tradition versus innovation. If you are a highly disciplined student, then you follow all the traditions, then you are just a disciplined student. You lack the innovation. And if you are all the time innovative, and then you will be unruly bored. You never bother about discipline. So you have to be in between and blending. Individuality versus nationalism, right? We are highly patriotic. আমরা সিনেমা হলে বন্দে মাতরম উঠে দাঁড়াই, তারপর রাস্তায় ছবি তুলি, right? So the question is that you have to be very clear that nationality, am I a nationalist or am I a humanist? Both are okay, both are two opposing things, right? But you have to be in between. Obedience versus initiative, individual versus community, one versus many, long term versus short term, right? নোটবন্দি হলো, now people say it's long time effect good. They say, some others say that 100-150 লোক লাইনে মারা গেছে, so it's bad. I'm not going to judge, but I'm saying that okay, you have to focus on it. Things are there. And now, almost final. What's the time now, was it?
It's 1:10.
1:10. So I have a few minutes for
Yeah, we do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm now disclaimer. My disclaimer is not political. Physicist point of view. Okay. Tricolor versus color tri. We started with 1947 tricolor, right? And now we are trying color. Some people are trying with saffron, yellow. Some people are trying with blue in our state, and maybe some other state they are trying with yellow or green or whatever. So tricolor to color tri, even contrasting opposite views. Pro versus anti. So either I am pro, we are debating to me wala. So we are used to see the debates. We really call them debates. Just shouting on anything, anyone, they're not debate, right? They're learned person. Now they cast you as pro or anti, and you can never say, sir, I have acquaintance with Bo or someone you know, Bo, complementary principle, and he's talking about that the something emerges out of these two, the third one, and that is the issue. I am issue based. I am neither anti nor pro.
Either you are with us or you are against us.
Yeah, right. So if you follow carefully that they are deliberately, very cleverly they are doing that. That you are polarizing you either or binary. You know, that day the Devsangata's after lecture I told that no, SAR's lecture. Sorry, I am not getting political. I am just elaborating a physics concept. This is very important. 3,000 crore rupees statue, Vallabhbhai Patel, and they are planning for even more than that. Then the Shivaji statue even longer than that, and then the Ram statue even longer than that. Probably our Didi will someday will make it, or even longer Rabindranath statue, or maybe a statue of Hassan.
It wouldn't be Rabindranath.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for giving me the warning. But I'm feeling that all of them are friends, and I will like it anyway. So the 3 lakhs farmers committed suicide, one extreme. Another is 3,000 crore rupees just for a statue. They have their own reason, own logic. They have their own reason, emotion, logic. But my question is, why are not you just coming in between? Why? Why not just making a dialogue? Not shouting on each other. Just make a dialogue. How can we make both? Because some tradition is there. Okay, you have some culture, Vallabhbhai Patel, Ram, whatever it is. You have some culture, you go for that. But farmers are living, they are committing suicide. You can't ignore that either. Right? So that is the exact demonstration of this principle where you can apply. We need either mandir or masjid, and making you fight on the street. On the street, you know nothing about the dilemma. But some people are coming, hooligans are coming, and causing a pseudo fight, and you are just losing and losing your lives. Lynching, right? Cow slaughter versus, that's my next point. Cow slaughter versus manslaughter. So, Ajadi versus pain. Ajadi, the feeling, the pleasure, when after 200 years of struggle, we got 1947, 15th August, the freedom, then there was a lot of celebrations at Delhi. All the leaders were there. They were celebrating. But at the same time, some pain was going on there in some people, because in Noakhali, in Kolkata, in Bihar, and many other places, the riots are going on. And what the media placed is the celebration. In small portion, some people are dying. Okay, some people will die, no problem. But we are celebrating the 1940 August, 15 August, 1947. Right? So my point is, but except one man, he did not celebrate in that way, like Jawaharlal Nehru or Vallabhbhai Patel or whoever it is. He came to Kolkata. He went to Noakhali. He went to Bihar just to be with the people, to protect them of their lives. Celebration comes next to him, but some other people, celebration comes prior to the human lives. So now again to extreme, and that person is Mohandas Karamchand. Right? He is the only person. And actually he lost his life for that. He has given the value for that. You know, he was killed. But the point is, where is the balance point? That is the big question. Yes sir, आप तक तो बोला गया दिव्य माझे ठीक माझे ही की 50-50 तब तो सोचा गाड़ी पर इसे को तो ले हमारे. Of course it is not that easy, you have to find it out. But the balance point. So let me go a little bit in search of that final point. Complete freedom individuum, that's individual freedom, right? Say, let me call it F, freedom. And opposite to the orderly totalitarian state, you are highly regularized. R for regularity. So we have two contrasting parameters. I am not quantifying this, F and R, freedom and regularity. Okay? And there is some uncertainty between freedom and regularity. So delta F and delta R, like uncertainty principle, is nearly equal to P, and P is that $1 million answer. So what is the value of that P? What is the political constant P? Right? So we have got enough from physics, atom bomb we have got from physics. So why not to get something more on humanity from physics? Right? But unfortunately quantum is just incomplete. Now Einstein did something more will come maybe. In a different spirit, I am also saying the same thing, that maybe some other day an extra quantum or super quantum kind of thing will come, but only time will say that, and wait until a new revolution, maybe another annus mirabilis, that miraculous year like 1905. So until we get that year, that miraculous events, that super quantum kind of thing, now till then what do you do? Goodbye. So till then, so what's the time now?
Truly refreshed.
Truly refreshed. The first comment came from her, but she is my very dear and near, so I am not ignoring her comment. And what we have to say. Now I will tell Kosik to say something. What are you? Maybe a question, maybe a comment.
No, this has truly been a very enjoyable lecture, because I personally believe that as scientists or chemists or whatever we are, we do not pay much attention to the philosophy of life, our way of life. We do not appreciate how much these two concepts are connected. And because somehow it is our limitation, or at least it's my limitation, I would definitely agree on that, we do not try to communicate this to our students. And this lecture has served me well in in going in that direction, that you can actually equate these things and you can illuminate your lectures further, not just by putting in some data or statistics or some graphs or something like that, but you can actually make them visualize in some social context or something like that. Just it's a very enjoyable experience for me. So I'd like to personally thank you for bringing this.
So one physical chemist or organic, so please make that complete. Do you agree?
So, sir, what I can say, the next time when I will be in the classroom, there will be a major impact of this particular lecture to that classroom. And I am telling from the core of my heart, sir.
Oh, thank you. Somebody voting? Okay. So thank you. Bye. Have a good lunch.